Good day, everyone. This is Understanding the Self, Lesson 8, reported by Group 4. These are the lesson contents. What is Psikolohiyang Pilipino? Virgilio Enriquez, pioneer of Psikolohiyang Pilipino. Rethinking Filipino values. Indirect communication. Internality, externality. Kelly's constructs. Kelly's 11 corollaries. What is Psikolohiyang Pilipino? Psikolohiyang Pilipino is anchored on Filipino thought and experience as understood from a Filipino perspective. The most important aspect of this definition is the Filipino orientation. Enriquez later defined Psikolohiyang Pilipino as the study of diwa or psyche, which in Filipino directly refers to the wealth of ideas referred to by the philosophical concept of essence and an entire range of psychological concepts from awareness to motives to behavior. Filipino psychology is not an anti-universal inasmuch as the ultimate aim of Psikolohiyang Pilipino is to contribute to universal psychology, which can be realized only if each group of people is inadequately understood by themselves and from their own perspective. Psikolohiyang Pilipino is a step towards contributing to universal psychology. Indigenization from within. This means looking for the indigenous psychology from the culture itself and not just clothing a foreign body with a local dress. Cultural revalidation is a better term for it, as Enriquez suggested. Psikolohiyang Pilipino is based on assessing historical and sociocultural realities, understanding the local language, and revealing Filipino characteristics and explaining them through the eyes of the native Filipino. The principal emphasis of Psikolohiyang Pilipino is to foster national identity and consciousness, social involvement, and psychology of language and culture. It is thus concerned with proper applications to health, agriculture, art, mass media, religion, and other spheres of people's daily life. Virgilio Enriquez, pioneer of Psikolohiyang Pilipino, born in the province of Bulacan, Philippines. Virgilio Gaspar Enriquez was trained by his father to speak the native tongue fluently since he was a child. Enriquez was formally initiated into psychology in 1963 when he started teaching at the University of the Philippines or UP. As early as 1965, he was using the Filipino language in teaching. In 1966, he left for the United States to pursue a master's degree, then later a doctoral degree in psychology at Northwestern University at Evanston, Illinois. Through his correspondence with Lagmay, Enriquez learned that the matter of teaching in Filipino language was being taken up eagerly. He started preparing for the teaching of psychology in Filipino. Enriquez returned to the Philippines in 1971, bringing with him a wealth of Western knowledge which he did not impose on his Filipino colleagues and students. His Western education drove him to be more Filipino-oriented in his teaching and research in psychology. He established the Philippine Psychology Research House or PPRH, which later became the Philippine Psychology Research and Training House or PPRTH. This place became home to materials on Psikolohiyang Pilipino, growing on its present size of more than 10,000 references. Rethinking Filipino Values. Bahala na. The Filipino cultural value of bahala na has no exact English translation. This is obviously a pervasive interpretation that when Thomas Andres published the Dictionary of Filipino Culture and Values, he still defines bahala na as the Filipino attitude that makes him accept sufferings and problems, leaving everything to God. Lagmay explained that bahala na is not fatalism, and but determination of risk-taking. Hiya. Sibley, an American scholar, translated hiya as shame. Another American lynch saw hiya as uncomfortable feeling that accompanies awareness of being in socially unacceptable position or performing a socially unacceptable action. Utang na loob. Utang na loob was translated by Kaut as debt of gratitude. Pakikisama versus pakikipagkapwa. Pakikisama was identified by Lynch as a Filipino value, giving it an English translation of maintaining smooth interpersonal relations by going along with the group or the majority decisions. For example, conformity. Pakikipagkapwa, which means treating the other person as kapwa or fellow human being. There are two categories of kapwa, the ibang tao, outsider, and hindi ibang tao, one of us. Ibang tao, pagsasarili, individuation, pag-iwas, avoidance, paghiwalay, separation, pagmamalaki, autonomy, pakikinabang, personal gain, hindi ibang tao or one of us, pagkukubli, masking, pagwawalang bahala, lack of concern, pagsalungat, disagree. Indirect communication. This has made the sharpening of pakikiramdam, shared inner perception, a particularly desirable skill in many situations involving Filipino social interaction. Pakikiramdam is a request to feel or to be sensitive to. It is shared feeling, a kind of emotional a priori. The indirect pattern of communication of Filipinos has thus resulted in indirectness or euphemisms in verbal exchange, expressive body language, voice intonations that says more than the words themselves, and other similar behaviors. Internality, externality. The Filipino language has two words for English word honor, puri and dangal. Puri refers to honor which is physical, such as that bestowed through compliments and or applause. For a good performance, thus external. It can also refer for virginity, which is a virtue expected of unmarried Filipino women. Dangal is honor from within, knowledge of one's true worth, character, achievement, and success. The Great Cultural Divide. Enriquez also explored the idea of a great cultural divide in the analysis of Filipino personality. On one side of the cultural divide are Filipinos who have maintained a more mass-oriented worldview, culture, and way of life. Bandora's concept of self-regulation, self-observation, monitor our performance, judgmental process, self-evaluation based on personal standards, standard of reference, value of activity, and performance attribution. Self-reaction, create incentives for own actions through self-reinforcement or self-punishment. Callice constructs, core constructs, loose constructs, peripheral constructs, preemptive constructs, propositional constructs, constellatory constructs. Core constructs, importance beliefs that are part of the individual's personal identity. Loose constructs, these refer to the beliefs that are unstable, weak, and poorly defined. These lead to erratic and often invalid predictions about how the world operates. Peripheral constructs. These are beliefs that are relatively unimportant to the person and that can be changed rather easily. Preemptive constructs. These include only its own elements and maintain that these elements cannot apply to other constructs. Propositional constructs. This leaves all their elements open for modifications. Constellatory constructs. These allow their elements to belong to other constructs concurrently. Kelly's 11 Coloraries. Construction. Anticipate future events according to their interpretations of recurrent themes. Individuality. People have their experiences, therefore construe events in different ways. Organization. Organize their personal constructs in a hierarchical system. Dichotomy. People construe events in an either or manner. Choice. People choose the alternatives that they see as extending the range of future choices. Range. Constructs are limited to a particular range of convenience, not relevant to all situations. Experience. People continually revise their constructs as the result of experience. Modulation. Some new experiences do not lead to the revision of constructs because these are concrete or impermeable. Fragmentation. People behavior is sometimes inconsistent because their construct systems can readily admit incompatible elements. Commonality. Personal constructs of people with similar experience tend to be similar. Sociality. People can communicate with other because they are able to construe others' constructions. That's what we all. Thank you for listening.